Welcome on stage, No Spill Milk.
So just out of curiosity, who here knows between you, myself, and the 6 billion other men and women on this planet know how much we contribute to food waste every year? Now, if you thought there was a $1 billion problem, you're a few digits off.
Every year, 2.8 trillion pounds of food ends up in a landfill. That's 8% of all greenhouse gases emitted per year. In the US alone, we waste 133 billion pounds. Imagine that, 3 million full-size semi-trucks of food driven straight to the landfill.
Hi, everyone. I'm Eric Fung. I have a background in distressed investing with BlackRock's private credit group, and along with my co-founder, Matthew Park, who owns a top 10 produce distributor in New York City, we created No Spilled Milk to eliminate this problem. We take donations of non-aesthetically pleasing fruits and vegetables and ship this to small and medium-sized businesses in New York City. How? That's a great question. So take a look at this avocado that was set to go to the garbage dump. We redirected this avocado to one of our processing partners, Hawaii's Smoothies in the Lower East Side, and they created a avocado smoothie. We taste tested this avocado smoothie with all of our close friends and family. What's special about it? Nothing, absolutely nothing. It tasted exactly the same as a regular avocado smoothie. And so that's our goal. Our goal is to take other people's trash and turn it into everyone's treasure.
Now, it's not just avocados that are wasted on a daily basis. Fruits and vegetables of all types end up in the landfill every single day. Our access to a wide variety of produce will allow us to get creative and work with partners in all types of industries.
Now, structured as a nonprofit, we take donations of fruits and vegetables and ship this to juiceries, smoothie shops, soup makers in New York City. We don't buy any inventory. Our processing partners pay for shipping costs, and we charge our processing partners a 10 to 15% administrative fee based on the amount of pounds shipped, therefore covering our low overhead costs.
So our partners will be incentivized to work with us. Why? Because we'll be able to save them 20 to 50% off their regular cost of produce. For example, if we take the average cost of an avocado, it would cost about $3.90 a pound for any of our partners. With No Spill Milk, we could get this cost down to as low as $1.65, which is a 58% savings. We provide a real value proposition for small businesses.
Now, you're probably wondering, wow, this must be too good to be true. Well, we really think that this can come true. We have a very high profit margin business model and will be cash flow positive from day one. Our suppliers receive tax benefits by donating produce to us, and our processing partners receive access to the lowest cost produce on the market. Everybody wins when you work with No Spilled Milk.
So No Spill Milk has a profitable business model, but more importantly, we have a scalable business model. We have strategically chosen the Hunts Point produce market as our starting point because it is the largest produce market of its kind. Every year, this market generates $2.3 billion in sales, handles 2 billion pounds of produce, and feeds 9% of the entire US population. The amount of food waste that this market generates varies, but we estimate it ranges somewhere between 50 to 100 million pounds a year. That means that saving even 1% of this waste would amount to 1 million pounds of food saved. And so, succeeding in the Hunts Point produce market, the largest of its kind, will be a measure of our scalability to markets all around the world. And the food waste landscape is ripe for innovation. In the first 10 months of 2018, companies fighting food waste attracted $125 million in VC&P funding. However, that's a very small number compared to the amount of food waste that we all generate. $1 trillion worth of food is wasted every single year. In the US, that number is about 180 billion. And in New York City, where we're launching our pilots, we estimate it ranges between 20 to $30 billion every single year. That is money figuratively going down the drain, and that is low-hanging fruit ready for us to pick.
Now, looking at our competitive landscape, we provide a novel, tax-efficient alternative to food waste, and we think we're highly differentiated. Legacy nonprofit providers such as City Harvest turn away donations of food waste, further extending the issue. On the for-profit side, players such as Imperfect Produce have unprofitable business models. They have extremely low profit margins. They're trying to profit off of an inconsistent food waste supply, and they create a secondary market for farmers and distributors to sell food waste into. It's essentially a for-profit model disguised as activism. As No Spilled Milk, we won't burn any cash, and we're providing a novel solution in the market. Looking forward, we want to add 3 more pilots by the end of 2019, with the hope of signing up 10 processing partners by the end of the year. In the future, we want to expand to Los Angeles and Boston and Chicago, similar urban infrastructures as New York City. Now, with your capital, we'll be responsible stewards. We'll be hiring food inspectors. We'll be hiring contractors to handle purchase orders. We'll be looking at installing ERP systems to really iron out our supply chain. And further down the line, because of our high free cash flow converting model, we'll be able to really create a self-sustaining model. We'll be able to vertically integrate, look at buying supply trucks, look at buying delivery type trucks, looking at expanding into cold storage, really eliminating any type of 3PL costs in our system. And with your support, we know we can get there. So in conclusion, we're not your typical startup. We don't measure success in the amount of dollars earned. We measure success in the millions of pounds of food waste saved and the lives impacted. And we're looking forward to you joining us in this journey. Thank you.
I have a question. My question is, if you were to win VietChallenge today, how would you use the prize money?
Sure. So as of now, we're actually in so I don't know if any of you have ever worked with the government, but it's a very slow-moving process. So we're actually in a regulatory kind of purgatory with the IRS because we're still getting our tax-efficient our nonprofit tax status. So that's why we haven't been able to go to grants, and that's why we would love your support. So with the money, we would like to use it on 3 pilots. The reason why these pilots at the moment are costly is because we have to work with basically 3PLs for one-time shipments. Usually when shipping, you have a contract and you're able to ship every week. These are kind of one-off type projects. So what we would do with that is we'd help alleviate the cost of shipping for our processing partners, at least for the first 2 to 3 pilots. We would hire contractors to handle orders on a daily basis from our customers. In addition to that, we'd buy liability insurance, and the third part is we'd look at buying a food inspector just to make sure all the food is high quality and safe to eat.
Thank you.
What would you say to end user if they know that the smoothie they drink is not the best quality product?
So I think that's the issue with food waste, right? So the issue with food waste is that people are throwing away food that is perfectly safe to eat. It's the same nutrition. It has the same taste. It is the same quality, but it might have a bruise. It might have an extra carrot like sticking out of it. And that's the reason why food waste is an issue, is because consumers don't understand that the food that you're throwing away is perfectly edible and it's the same food to eat. And it's good for the planet for you to play your part in eliminating this food waste, and you'll feel much better for drinking one of these smoothies.
Eric, you used to be a mean investment banker, and now you're trying to do something good in the world. What caused this change of direction?
Yeah. Don't get me wrong. I still like making money along with most of the people here. So a little bit of background on myself. After having started another side profitable company with Matthew, having been a financial analyst for one of the largest financial institutions in the world, I feel very blessed to be in this type of position, and that's kind of what I've always wanted when I was in high school, to be financially secure. But now that I am financially secure, what I realize is that sometimes money's just not everything. And I used to be president of the Vietnamese Students Association at Boston College, and that was one of the biggest impacts of my life, and being able to impact other people and the results and creating a very good club that serves others. And so that's kind of what I wanted in this type of venture, to be able to really create a process with my team and also impact the lives of others. And that's what I'm trying to show by being a Vietnamese entrepreneur.
Okay, so 2 questions. One is, what's the shelf life of the product that you now handle, and what's the end of life cycle for that, because not all of that gets used? And then I have a follow-up question.
So the shelf life ranges anywhere. It needs to be used within maybe 1 to 5 days. So the current issue with the food waste problem is that a lot of the food banks need the product to last about 4 days because they need 1 day to bring it into their own warehouse, another day to process it, another day to put on trucks to deliver to food banks or kitchens, and then another day for people to eat it. So that's why so much perfectly good produce is just being thrown away because people can't handle it quickly enough. So we would be able to step in and provide and get this produce and give it to processing partners for them to use within 1 to 3 days.
Okay, so actually a follow-up on that is but in the pilots that have you done pilots and have people used up all the food, or does it have to get thrown out?
Yeah, so we did run a pilot with Hotway Smoothies. They have 5 locations in the Lower East Side and Chinatown. We sent them, I think, a crate of avocados, 100 pounds of raspberries, and then also blueberries too. And they love. I mean, obviously it was free, but they loved it, and we were able to use that with them. But the reason why this also works is because, unfortunately, but maybe fortunate for us, is that small and medium-sized businesses in New York City are inefficient. So how they order produce is they actually order it on a daily basis. So they don't have the scale to be able to order 10,000 pounds of fruits and vegetables once every week. They actually call into people like the Hunts Point Market and make their order every night. And so that's why we're able to come in and be effective without, wasting the shelf life of these fruits and vegetables, because we have daily orders of fruits and vegetables on a daily basis from all of our processing partners.
Okay, so as a nonprofit organization, what are your capital requirements and what's your vision for the business?
Sure. So I think the slide's not there up anymore, but our capital requirements, like we stated previously, we would obviously like to hire managers to actually be able to handle purchase orders from processing partners. We need to look into so at first, it's going to be very manual to be tracking all these orders, but eventually we want to look into installing some type of ERP system where we can basically install these, and that's annual software cost depending on the size, from anywhere from $1,000 to $5,000 to $10,000 depending on the scale of your company. In addition to that, we need to hire liability insurance, and eventually we would like to hire salespeople. And salespeople, as we know, they're self-sustaining. They basically pay for their own costs, and that's what we'd be able to do by charging this 10 to 15% cost on the administrative fee of shipping pounds.
Just a more basic question. So it's a nonprofit organization. I guess maybe I've not been as familiar with situations where there's private equity money going into a nonprofit organization and then getting the appropriate returns. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Sure. So as a nonprofit, we're not allowed to take equity from any type of investor. However, I'm totally cognizant of the audience that we're working with. So as I've stated previously, I would love to be creative in certain types of financing. So maybe what we could do is a non-recourse loan that gets you kind of a cash-on-cash hurdle that meets your minimum investment return. And the event that, of course, is non-recourse, you can write it off as a tax expense. I'd say another thing to think about too is that if you're an institutional investor, if you take a survey of all these institutional investors, what they want to do is they want to invest in ESG, so environmental, societal, and governmental type investments. And if that's not in your mandate today to invest in ESG, 5 years from now, that will be a part of your mandate. So when you're going out there fundraising from, everything from Eaton Vance to the Texas Teachers Union, everything like that, and you don't have a portfolio of ESG type investments, that's gonna be much more difficult for you to be fundraising 5 years from now. And so we would be an ESG investment that you could put a tombstone in for when you're trying to finance, and that's intrinsic value. That's you can't really put a value on that compared to what you'd be investing today. It's priceless.
Could a nonprofit do revenue-based financing?
What would be an example of revenue-based financing?
Okay, no, so
Yeah.
Let's not go there right now, but yeah.
Is there a way you could become a for-profit organization? Did you consider that when you're structuring your plans?
Yeah, so we chose the nonprofit model because of the generous tax code that goes into donating produce. So farmers and anyone who handles some type of produce can donate up to 10% of their gross sales. And but I think this incentive is really important because a lot of these farms will be able to write off their donations to us. And also because it's a fresh commodity market, or we're dealing with a fresh commodity, the prices are fluctuating so much that items are constantly sold under cost. There's always something selling below cost. So being able to tell these distributors, hey, you'll be saving more money by donating to us than trying to sell on the open market is a huge reason why they'll will have a very good amount of supply.
And what I will say is that we obviously came up with this idea, but this wasn't the original idea. We have thought about for-profit type affiliates of food waste. For example, tax receivables for donating produce. We've thought about selling cold pressed juice and everything like that. But the fact is, this is food waste, and it's just not a profitable industry. And I think that's the way that the people are viewing it as a for-profit industry. It's just not helping.
Do you guys put any exclusivity agreements in place or anything? If somebody could come up with, like, how do you secure the, how can you prevent somebody from coming and up with this idea and doing it themselves and trying to undercut you guys in this business?
Or maybe they don't mind if they create a better competitor.
We would welcome competitors of food waste, to be honest. I mean, it's a 2.8 trillion pound problem, and it's growing every year, and we need more competitors like ourselves.
I mean, one of the challenge I could see is that if the more efficient you are, the buyer of the waste, you're compressing the price, right? Because why would they buy a new avocado versus waiting for you to deliver it free or at half the price? Is that a challenge as you can think about it?
Yeah, that's definitely something that we talked about. Cannibalizing sales or a distributor who's worried. But that's why I really think the nonprofit status is so important, because them donating to us will save them money. It'll save them more money than them trying to sell that avocado to a customer, because they'd have to sell that avocado below cost. Donating to us, they could probably save more money as a tax write-off at the end of the year. So that's why we really focus on having the nonprofit aspect.
Yeah, in addition, as a distributor, if you're buying less full-price fruit and vegetables that is potentially going to waste, you're also reducing